All right, I'm Dale and I'm with Shanklin Heating, and I am going to perform a flush and fill on a gas water heater this morning. We're going to start with coming over to the water heater and basically connect up the water hose. That's nice and tight so it doesn't leak. The end of the drain. Grab my screwdriver. And this one just happens to have a slot on it, so you have to have a screwdriver to open it. Some of them just have a regular valve. But what we want to do is we want to crack this open, start moving water through the hose from the water heater. What I'm doing is basically ensuring that this back of the valve is not plugged up so we can perform the water heater flush and fill. We have plenty of water flowing through, so at this time I'm going to close off the valve so we don't have any new water coming in. Make sure this is opened up 100%. And I'm going to turn this to pilot. So I don't want the gas coming on while I'm in the middle of a flush and fill. So now I have water draining out of the water heater, but it's draining out real slow, if at all. So I'm going to run up to the sink and I'm going to open up the hot water spigot. I'm just going to open the water, open up the hot water tab, and now we're starting to vent. So now we're draining down at the water. We're draining a lot of water, so just open up the spigot upstairs will allow that to happen. Now the reason we want to do a flush and fill on a water heater is because through time you're going to get sediment building up on the bottom of the tank inside. And you do a regular flush and fill on the system, what's going to happen is we're going to get rid of the majority, if not hopefully all of the sediment. And the more you get rid of it, we're trying to make the water heater last longer and operate more efficiently. So once we get all the water drained down, so inside you can't see it, but once we get this all drained down and this stops draining, which is going to take approximately half hour, 40 minutes, then at that period of time, what I'm going to do is when we don't have any more water in the tank, since this cold water coming in, internally there is a pipe that goes all the way to the bottom of the tank. And I am going to crack this valve open and closed several times, and what that's going to do is that's going to create a lot of turbulence on the bottom of the tank, and we're going to stir up what sediment is in there and allow that to drain out. So I'm going to do that about 3 or 4 times, and then once we get all the sediment out of it, or what we can, then we'll close the valve and then we'll open this back up, and then we'll turn it. Once it's filled, we'll turn the gas back on. Alright, so now I went through or talked through the flush and fill of a gas water heater. Now the other water heater would be an electric water heater, which has no gas, but electric. So when you do an electric water heater flushing fill, it's basically you're doing the same thing, except for instead of turning off turning the gas valve to the pilot position so the gas valve does not open in the middle of it, we are going to go to the electric panel and we're going to search for the water heater, and we're going to find the breaker and flip it off. And by doing that, we are going to prevent the heating elements on the water heater from coming on when we're in the middle of our flush and fill. Because if you don't turn this electric off on the electric water heater, what's going to happen is you're going to rush cold water across those elements that are hot, and you're going to burn them out immediately every time. So electric has to be off. And get the water totally full back in after you're done with the flush and fill. At that time, you can go back to the electric panel and turn it back on.